I think we'll probably kick off. We've got lots of people joined us on the call today. So welcome. Thank you for spending your Monday evening with us. We're going to be talking financing fertility in a cost of living crisis this evening. So firstly, just wanted to introduce ourselves. So I'll start with myself. My name is Caroline Allen. By background, I'm a registered midwife. I was a midwife in the NHS for around 6 years, and I now work for Fertility, and I head up the patient inquiry team. So that is a really great team of nurses, midwives, and fertility advisors that speak to all new prospective patients that are interested in learning more about fertility. So yeah, and then I'll hand over to Bella to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Bella Marson. I am a specialist fertility advisor, part of the patient inquiry team. So what I do is I am the first point of contact at Apricity. I'm the person who goes over all of the information, all of the initial steps. I get everyone started with their treatment. And of course, I am the one who will talk about finance with you comes time of, tests, treatment, anything. So hopefully this will be of use.
Thanks, Bella. So yeah, please feel free to ask us questions throughout the webinar. And we have had some questions sent in before, so thank you for those who have, but we do have a live Q&A, so feel free to fill those in as we go. And we'll get started. So first of all, just to talk a little bit about Apricity, which is where Bella and I work. So who is actually hosting this webinar today? So we are a private fertility company. We operate in the UK and Ireland. And the main model that we work around is being as less stress as possible. Our tagline is less stress, more success. And the way that we operate is we try and make it as virtual as possible. So we try and have as close to your home, in your home as possible, as virtual as possible. So it means that instead of having to travel into a clinic up to 10 times of a normal cycle, that's reduced down to 2 because the rest of your care is actually done by your personal advisor over our app. And this app is really good. It tracks all of your treatment, all of your medications, your appointments. It has guidance, advice, and it means you have essentially your fertility advisor in your pocket the whole way through your treatment. So we're available 7 days a week, and our medical team and our nursing team are also there on hand to care for you the whole way through your treatment. And we provide that emotional support and unlimited counselling throughout your whole treatment as well. We really pride ourselves on our success rate. So we have a 48% success rate, and that is per single embryo transfer for a clinical pregnancy. And that is actually 29% higher than the UK average of 37%. So we're really, really proud of that. And the main thing that is so relevant to today is our pricing model, and that is to be as all-inclusive as possible. And that means upfront costs are made aware to you, and you know exactly what is included and exactly what your care will entail from the outset, so that you're able to plan and structure that sort of finance appropriately from the beginning. So that's a really brief 30-second overview of what Apricity is. But I think the main thing that shouts really loud from Apricity is our team. So Bella's picture isn't on here, but this is your team, isn't it, Bella? These are your colleagues.
Yes,
And
myself and my colleagues who look after all the patients all the way through from beginning to end. So we're always available 7 days a week, and we're always there to offer as much support as we can. So myself and some of my colleagues will be the first point of contact up until, a bit further down the line. But we have our nurses, we have the care advisors. So we're always there to offer as much support as possible.
And then I mentioned before the Apricity app. So this is really we call it sort of your fertility advisor in your pocket. So this is how you will contact your fertility advisor at any point throughout the whole journey. And it's a really sort of good resource and tool. So that's just a little bit about what apricity is and how we like to work. And the reason that apricity was created, this sort of less stress, more success, is because there are so many reasons why people may need fertility treatment nowadays. It's not only heterosexual couples, where actually 1 in 6 will require support. It's also the LGBTQ plus community that will rely on assisted reproductive to help create their families and also preserve their fertility for the future. And it's really interesting to know that one IVF baby is born every minute. So it's actually a service that's becoming even more prevalent. And in particular, things like egg freezing, we have seen a huge increase over the past few years of people wanting to preserve their fertility via the egg freezing route. So there's so many different avenues that people might want to explore. And yeah, so we're there the whole way through that. Um, one of the things that comes up all the time, and I know Bella will agree with me because you speak to patients all day, every day, Bella, is
Yeah.
the biggest barrier to fertility, going ahead with fertility tests or fertility treatment, is the cost. And a really interesting report came out last year from the Fertility Network that said 90% of people felt an emotional impact due to the rise in the cost of living and that impact on fertility treatment. So not only is private fertility treatment a cost, but actually when we're living in an environment, a global economic environment like we are at the moment, it's just that added pressure. So we know that it's going to be a stressful experience for a lot of people, and finance plays a big part in that. So obviously the first port of call for most people, and I'm sure there's lots of people on the call here today that would have gone through sort of those initial steps potentially with the NHS. And you would have heard the NHS postcode fertility lottery. And what that really means is it really, where you live and what ICB, so sort of what local hospital network you live in, will really dictate whether you're eligible or not for fertility cover with the NHS. And there's so many sort of different criteria that they rely on. It's not only age and BMI, it's things like the length of time with your partner and whether your partner has any previous children and how long you've been trying to conceive. The trying to conceive journey that I'm assuming a lot of you would have been on is stressful. And actually 2 years is a long time, but often an NHS care provider won't offer any sort of support until that point. So I think for Bella and I, and in particular myself, I can only speak for myself, coming from the NHS, we wish that the NHS was more generous and had the funds from the government to be able to offer NHS fertility care to more people. But unfortunately, not everyone is eligible. And what the consequence of this is that 3/4 of IVF cycles are actually privately funded out of the pockets of the patients themselves and not via the NHS. And it's quite a heartbreaking statistic, actually, when I learned of this last year, because you would hope and assume that it would sort of be the opposite. So what we've popped in this slideshow here, which we'll also send out at the end as a resource, is an NHS eligibility calculator that was developed by Fertility Mapper, which is a great group of people, and it's to support you to know, am I eligible or am I not for fertility treatment? So we'll send that out afterwards, and you can have a go at that if you've not explored that avenue before. What that does mean is then, as we've sort of highlighted, 3/4 of people will end up going to the private sector for their fertility treatment. And what we want to try and equip you with today is some real tools to help you navigate that environment, and also sort of some like tips and advice on how you can best, get supported financially in this sector. So I'll hand over to Bella, and she's going to explain sort of what should be included in those sort of standard packages that you'll see if you're going to different fertility clinics.
Yeah, so when you're getting started with the fertility journey, the first thing that is asked of you, either with us or with the NHS or with any clinic, is precisely for you to start off with some fertility tests, just so that we know what your fertility looks like and so that we can plan the next steps accordingly and obviously address any concerns if there are any. So what you should expect from these initial tests would always be for the female blood tests, which would be an AMH or anti-Mullerian hormone blood test that to look at your ovarian reserve. and your thyroid profile, so a thyroid function profile, to check for your hormone levels and balance. Um, Also, for the female, we would also be doing an ultrasound scan. The scan is to locate uterus, ovaries, and follicles. We get a lot of information from the scans, such as um, womb lining, thickness, ovarian reserve, if there are any cysts, fibroids, anything that could be in the way of conception, or even from any treatment like the egg freezing, for example. For the male, we would need to do a semen analysis. Um, that's pretty much to indicate, the male fertility side of things. And after all of these tests, you should then expect a consultation with the doctor. That's when you go over all of the results and plan for your next steps from there and see what would be the best next option advised by the doctor.
Amazing, thanks, Bella. And then I suppose the three sort of most sort of biggest package treatments are IVF, egg freezing, and sort of an egg donation. So do you mind sort of going through those sort of key parts of those that would be included?
Yeah, absolutely. So this here is just so that you have an idea of what is expected of you or what happens during the cycle. So obviously, in a nutshell, yes, we're just, having the fertilization or going through the egg collection outside of your body. But there are many little steps that we need to take until we get to that point. So obviously, there is medication. Medication is hormone medication to stimulate production of eggs in your body or in the body of the donor if it's egg donation that you're looking at. There's also medication for womb lining, so to prepare for embryo transfers. There's much monitoring necessary throughout the treatment. So there are many scans that you have to go through. There are some blood tests to monitor as well your hormones. Um, all of these little things. There are a few pre-treatment screening that you will need to go through or pre-treatment overall. So there's a virology screening to check, pretty much check for virus that could contamination that you could get like HIV, hepatitis, chlamydia, things like that. There are doctors planning consultations. There are nurse care and guidance that goes into the treatment as well. And then, of course, there's the main treatment, which is the egg collection, which is a minor procedure, but still a procedure that happens under sedation. There's embryology, um, blastocyst culture, which is just culturing the embryos until day 5 to get the best quality ones, embryo transfers to try for pregnancies, and of course, storage of any remaining gametes. That would go for eggs, embryos, or sperm as well. And storage usually is part of it because that goes for however many years you want to keep them there, the gametes there.
Thanks, Bella. And what about egg freezing?
Um, Egg freezing is pretty much the same thing. The main difference between egg freezing and the other types of treatment is that there wouldn't be the embryology side of things because you're not really trying for a pregnancy, but the egg freezing treatment will still require medication to induce the production of eggs in your body. The monitoring, so scans, blood tests, everything that's necessary so that we know how well your body is responding to the medication. The pre-treatment is the same. There's the virology screening, there's doctors and nurse consultations to plan the treatment, nurse guidance and care. There's the treatment, which is the egg collection, the main treatment, the egg collection itself, and of course the storage, which is a big thing that comes through the treatment afterwards.
Thanks, Bella. And I suppose with egg donation, it's the same process, but actually that it's even more elongated because you're talking about the treatment that the egg donor has to go through, and even the recruitment of an egg donor to begin with, or the donor's treatment. And there's quite often additional screening and scanning, etc., with that donor. And then you've got the treatment with the couple that are going to be accepting that egg donor to create embryos and go ahead with treatment there. And then the storage, as you say, sort of if ever there is an embryo or eggs, there is that storage fee that is paid year on year after that as well. So yeah, I suppose it really illustrates that there's lots of different sections that actually it's not as simple as just saying, right, here's how much the treatment costs, because there's a real timeline of lots of other different parts of the care that happens. And then would you be able to talk us about those additional sort of tests and those hidden costs, as we might sometimes call them?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the main things when it comes to especially shopping around, when looking at prices for treatments and tests and anything that has to do with your fertility, it's important to keep in mind everything that you might encounter. Like we just mentioned, each treatment requires quite a few steps, quite a few things from beginning to end, so that you get to the whole of the process. For the test, there are different tests that are necessary from the beginning, and it's quite common, unfortunately, that you see a price on a clinic website or um, on the internet overall, and it will say, oh, the price of treatment is this much, but when actually that treatment price is actually for the treatment, but that doesn't usually include the medication, the pre-treatment, the monitoring. So when it comes to the time when you're starting the treatment, you're going through it, and the journey is already emotional as it is, you then find out that there's a lot of cost that you didn't account for, and then you're already going through it. You have to pay for it because you want to go through the treatment. There are many things whenever looking at prices, whenever inquiring, it's important to ask about things like, okay, what are the costs of medication, of monitoring scans, blood tests, everything that wouldn't be the treatment itself, which is pretty much a collection or a collection plus embryo transfer. There are many things behind that that are necessary and that come at an additional cost for most of the advertised prices out there,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah, it's quite shocking actually, and we'll talk a little bit more about the apricity specific packages later. But it's really common, isn't it, in the fertility world for the advertised price not to be the actual end price. And I think the slide we've got next sort of really indicates that. And we don't need to go through these sort of one by one necessarily, but you can really clearly see the cost difference of the advertised price versus the true price. And I think what is, you see the biggest jump for the IVF cycle and the egg freezing cycle, where advertised will be £3,000 to £4,000, but the actual true price will be 6 to 7, sometimes more. And Bella, you said those parts for egg freezing and IVF that are often missing. Is it for medication and scans and things like that?
Yeah, yeah. Usually, especially for IVF and egg freezing treatments, most of the advertised prices don't include medication, don't include monitoring, don't include the virology, anything that goes pre-treatment, virology screening, doctor planning consultations, things like that. There's HFEAP, there's many things that are just not included. So you come in, you start the process thinking that you're spending, let's say, £4,000, and then there's an additional four. That's only half of what you'll be spending in the end. And you
Mm.
only find that out when you're halfway through, when you can't really stop at that point.
Yeah, and it sounds quite shocking, and I suppose we don't mean to sound doom and gloom about it, because actually what is happening now in the market, which we're seeing, is with people are trying to be a lot more transparent and are trying to have those sort of more upfront costs, which we'll talk a little bit more about, but also having other options and a lot more freedom as to how you can sort of navigate the finance world. So I'm going to go into a little bit about some top tips from us really about how to be fertility finance smart, as we've called it. So first of all is sort of off the back of what we've just discussed, and this is about looking for inclusive pricing. So ideally, if a clinic offers inclusive pricing, it includes sort of that whole list that we went through before. So not only the treatment, the egg collection and the embryo creation, it actually includes the medication, the consultations, the scans, all of those other parts that we've mentioned. And but then I suppose what's relevant, if you found a clinic that doesn't do all-inclusive pricing, to really dig into what is included, what isn't, and actually see their price list and really break down, what is this going to cost me realistically in the long run. So that's a really key point. A second one here is look for as many sort of virtual services on offer as possible. So I think another sort of hidden cost, which people don't necessarily think about, is the amount of travel that it can take to get to your fertility clinic. And you're going to be choosing a clinic that you feel comfortable at, that you feel confident going to, that has the best success rates and that works best for you. And it might be that that clinic isn't on your doorstep and you actually have to travel. And if that's the case and you are going to go to every appointment in person, that's sometimes 10 appointments per cycle. So actually, if they do offer virtual services, virtual consultations, at-home blood tests, at-home scanning, even in some areas, we can offer at-home semen analysis, things like that. It means that you don't have to have that travel spend, you don't have to take time off work, and you can have less disruption to your life. And it's those added things as well, which can really sort of add up. Another thing that we want to point out is multi-cycle packages. So I'm sure some of you will know what these are, but for those who don't, a multi-cycle package is when you would purchase either sort of 2 or 3 cycles of a treatment up front, and that can either be IVF, or it can be for egg freezing, or even sort of IUI. We do multi-cycle packages where if you've spoken with the doctor and sort of said, I'm interested in this, and your test results indicate that that could be an option for you, it can really significantly sort of reduce the cost per cycle by a couple of £1,000 in some circumstances. So it's definitely worth speaking to your clinic and speaking to your doctor after you've had those initial tests to work out if that might be a viable option for you. Another one in here, which is something that we're really trying to explore more and more recently, is offering installment payment packages. So not only you would know the actual price and the cost up front, you could have a payment plan whereby you know exactly what your monthly payments are going to be. And this sometimes can be over a number of years, so you can have sort of really minimal monthly payments if that's what works for you. And then it's fixed, and you know exactly what you've got coming. So that's one other option that we definitely offer, and a lot of clinics are starting to offer. And then we also have another option, which is more like treatment protection. And by treatment protection, what we mean is you would pay a small fee up front, and then after that, you can start your treatment. And if you don't have a baby, if you have unsuccessful cycles, you don't actually pay back any more money from there. So all you've paid is a protection fee up front. So that's becoming a lot more popular as well. And we'll go into that in a bit more detail in a short while. But yeah, it's a really good option if you don't want to pay the sort of large sum up front and you want to sort of pace out your payments later on. And then finally, and this is really gold standard. This is if you can't get treatment on the NHS, this is what I would hope that everyone could get. And that is that you would have fertility coverage as part of employee benefits. And I know not everyone has this at all, and people would consider themselves very lucky to have this. But actually, we're seeing a real trend in the industry where companies are wanting to support their employees with fertility benefits. To show that they are inclusive and they are, open and supportive of their employees starting families and family planning in a really safe environment. And again, I said we'll talk about this a little bit more later, because ask your employee. A lot of people that have private medical insurance will have fertility benefits and won't even be aware of it. So ask your employer and see if they're able to cover anything. So these are just some top tips, and Apricity has made a real effort over the past year to 2 years to really sort of make a commitment to try and support our patients as much as possible financially as we can. So when it comes to your sort of inflationary prices every year, it's not just the fertility industry, it's everywhere. You'll see your fuel going up, you'll see your shopping going up every week. It's a tough world we're living in, but we've really tried to protect our patients as much as possible. I think inflation reached around 14% at one point last year, whereas actually we tried to reduce our prices in some cases, and actually only increased our prices by an average of 5% in the past year. So we really tried to protect people as much as possible. We also, as we've mentioned before, have packaged our our services so that they include as many costs as possible. There are some very small exceptions, and there always will be, for sort of some rare genetic screening or specialist scans that might be requested. But we do try and package it so that you're fully aware from the outset what those costs are going to be from the beginning. We also do have the discounted multi-cycle treatment options, which are becoming more popular every day because of the savings that you can make per cycle if you go for them. We also include unlimited supportive counselling throughout the journey. So we mentioned before about the sort of physical, emotional, and financial stress that fertility treatment can bring to the surface. So we want to make sure that you're supported by a trained and impartial counsellor throughout as well. We also have onboarded 2 financial support options over recent times. And these are for eligible patients, and there are sort of eligibility criteria, which Bella will talk about in a second. But actually, we've onboarded these so that we work directly with them so that you as a Pricity patient have access to them financing options and also that treatment protection as well. So actually, we mentioned before about what the price you may see on the internet versus the hidden costs. And this is sort of how a Pricity runs and what in our standard packages, what will be included. So yeah, like Bella's gone into these details before, so I won't necessarily go over it again. And you can also see it on the screen here. But we try to be as inclusive as possible so that you're very, very clear. Now, Bella, would you like to talk about those finance options that we have onboarded? That how
Yes,
would you like to
absolutely.
see?
Yes. We now work with 2 companies that offer finance for treatments, which is Can and Gaia. So with Can we can offer finance for pretty much any available fertility treatment that we offer. That's not only just IVF or egg freezing or egg donation. There's also the option of financing ovulation induction or IUI, any treatment really. And that's because Can works as a personal loan for fertility treatment. So you can get the amount of either the full treatment or part of the full amount, and then you can pay in monthly installments and fixed monthly installments. And you would have up to 7 years to pay back. So it gives you more than enough time to pay it back. So hopefully that should make it somewhat more affordable. And then with them, you can get an instant approval. It is based on credit checks. So it's just a matter of applying on the website, seeing if you're eligible, and then you can get started. With Can things can move pretty quickly, and you can have that finance option. With Gaia, on the other hand, Gaia offers finance as well, but they have a little bit of a different product. So with Gaia, they offer the plans for any type of IVF. So IVF with egg donation, regular, IVF with your own eggs, or reciprocal IVF as well. And with them, you would pay a protection fee. So they offer an insurance essentially. So you pay a protection fee. It's an initial fee to get this treatment started. You then get started, go ahead with the treatment. And if you have a live birth, so if you are successful with the treatment, then you will pay the remaining amount back in installments that can be a 0% interest, can be as low as 150 pounds a month, depending on credit and affordability checks. And the protection is that if you don't have a baby, unfortunately, at the end of your plan with them, you then don't have to pay anything else. You would only have paid the protection fee, which is usually 20-30% maybe of the full amount of treatment. So you could potentially have a full treatment for a third of the cost, and you you if it doesn't work, then you don't have the stress of paying it off. Gaia, however, in comparison to Can they have a medical eligibility as well. So that's the only thing to keep in mind. They will be looking at things like BMI, age, general medical history, and they will let you know if you're eligible medically speaking. And if so, they'll then do a credit check to see if you're able to afford the installments. But if so, then they are a fantastic option to take the stress away, to make the treatment more affordable in a way that you're protected if it doesn't work, unfortunately.
Absolutely. Thanks, Bella. Yeah, they're two really great options. And as Bella sort of highlighted, they're slightly different as well in what they offer. So some people like to explore both and like to apply for both and then sort of make that decision. And some people like the idea of one over the other in particular. So um, we will send out an email after the presentation today, and we'll actually put links in there to the Can Do Apricity application page and the Gaia Apricity application page as well. If you did want to explore these to see if you would be eligible and actually what those costs would look like for you, you can always explore those as well. So I just want to talk a little bit about the back to the employer supporting you. So as I said, it's not all workplaces that do this, but we work really closely with a lot of workplaces, and we actually are able to provide that benefit. So how it tends to work with the companies that we work with is that the company will either go through private medical insurance or using a cash allowance. So for example, they'll say each employee has £10,000 towards fertility treatment, just as an example. And then what that means is you come to us, we take you through all the tests, your employer or your private medical insurer will approve and say, yes, we're happy for you to proceed. And then whatever treatment you require, we then invoice the employer or the private medical insurance directly. So you're never out of pocket. So there is variations as to how this can work, and it depends how your employer wants to work. Some employers only want to cover sort of the testing side of it. Some will offer a contribution, some will offer a discount on the treatment. There's lots of variation, and we're open to working with employers in any stretch really as to how they want to support you financially and become that sort of fertility friendly employer. And we're seeing a lot more recently where it's actually the employees who are going through it. You'll have someone maybe in HR that needs to go through fertility treatment and realizes how difficult that can be in their workplace. And so we'll actually start that conversation with their employer, and will then be the reason that they are pushed over the line to then provide benefits for the rest of their employees as well. And we're seeing success stories all the time. If anyone follows Fertility Matters at Work, they're a great organisation, and you can see loads more companies coming on board. And they're big companies as well. You know, we currently work with the likes of Google and Microsoft and companies like that, but even smaller ones as well that have a lot less employees. So yeah, if you feel that your employer you may have coverage, have a word with them. If you don't, then maybe ask them, would they be prepared to? You know, you can put us in contact with them and we will work with them. We work really closely with Fertility Matters at Work to make sure that employers are forward thinking and inclusive in their benefits packages. I'm sure you would have seen sort of the trend a year or so ago was really menopause was really being talked about. Now fertility is really being talked about, and rightfully so, considering how little support we often get from the NHS in this area. So yeah, we offer that employee benefit. So if you have had that conversation, you want to have that employee conversation with your employer, we'll be able to support with that as well. So just some key takeaways, and then we've got a couple of questions to answer actually. So some key takeaways from the webinar that we've discussed today. So 3/4 of IVF fertility treatment are not covered by the NHS, and it really does pain me to say that. I am genuinely saddened, and I hope that that changes. So what that means is that the majority of people end up coming to the private sector. Now, when you do, we really encourage you to look for all-inclusive pricing and really pick apart any package that you are being discussed, so that you know exactly what is included and what isn't included, and you've got a real understanding of that price list before you go ahead. Really make the most of virtual services so that you're reducing any travel spend or any overnight stays potentially if the clinic that you've chosen is not local to you. Consider the multi-cycle package option, so that can really lower the cost per cycle. And also you have the options of monthly payment plans where you can spread the cost and pay a fixed monthly fee, or you can look for protection for your treatment costs, whereby you pay a small amount up front, and then if you are successful, you will pay off again in monthly installments, or if you are unfortunately not successful, then you won't pay anything back. So you've got those options there as well. So really look into those to see if they would be feasible for you. Also check with your employee benefits scheme as well to see if there's anything they can do there. And maybe even you could be the person in that company that really makes that change and you know rides that for the rest of your colleagues as well. But I think the main thing to take away from this is you need to make sure that the clinic you choose, you are choosing because you feel comfortable and confident in the care that they're able to provide. And that's not only the care of the success rates, of course, you know, we spoke about how proud we are of our success rates, and it's an indicator of how fantastic our clinic and our care is, but they also need to be there to support you emotionally and financially. And I think that's a real key takeaway is that because so many people are coming to the private fertility market now because of the NHS, we have a responsibility to support you in that financial way. We can't just take it as like you're choosing to come to us. It's an actual necessity. So it's the responsibility of your private fertility clinic to support you in that financial way. So I really hope that you've taken something away from this webinar today. When we talk about making sure that you're comfortable with your clinic, if you are interested in apricity at all, we have all of our reviews are on Doctify. So please feel free to look us up and look at what some of our previous patients have said. You might even see Bella's name mentioned in there because she's a very popular advisor of ours who her patients love. So I'm sure you'll see. And then also after this call, what we will be doing is we'll be sending out an email with all the relevant resources you might need. So that's going to be a link to this presentation. We're also going to have the resources from Fertility Mapper. So that's the NHS eligibility criteria, but also some information on affordability in the NHS, in the private fertility market in general. We'll also send you links to Can Do and Gaia that Bella was talking about earlier in the presentation, and you can apply to see whether you would be eligible. But you can also apply from that at any point as well. If you wanted to speak to us first, talk to us about the treatment you would be interested in, you can always then go to Can Do and Gaia later on. And then also what we'll put in the email, but you've also got the QR code up on the screen now. And this is to book in a free consultation. And this will be primarily with Bella, but could also be one of our other lovely advisors in our onboarding team. And this is where Bella and the team can go through a lot more sort of personal information that's specific to you. So where do you live? You know, where can we do things local to your area? What's your medical history? You know, what specifically is important to you? And Bella can go through all of those. And you quite often have, like, you know, really fruitful conversations and get to know our patients at that very first call, don't you, Bella?
Yes, I really do. I get to know the patients a lot more from that initial call. I understand a bit more of your fertility journey, and I explain exactly what we need to do to get the next steps in place for your continuation of fertility journey.
Amazing. So yeah, I'll leave this up on the screen now. We've had a couple of questions sent in before, and we also have one that's been sent in. So we'll go ahead and answer these in the last 5 minutes. So one of the questions that we have is, hello, how can someone staying in Lincoln get couple testing with your team? Where is the nearest hospital address, and how can we book an appointment? So thank you for this question from Ujay. Bella, would you like to answer this?
Yes, absolutely. So we actually have a partner clinic in Lincoln where we can arrange the blood tests and scans. With that being said, just so that there's a bit more information there, we at Persity, we work slightly different than the other clinics. We try to make everything as convenient as possible. We have main clinics for treatments like the IVF or the egg freezing in both London and Manchester, but we do have facilities all across the UK for blood tests and scans and tests in general. So we do try to make everything as easy and convenient as possible. So yes, we do have a clinic in Lincoln where you can have the blood tests and the scans. For the semen analysis, we would have two options. Um, I would say that from Lincoln, I think the closest clinic for the semen analysis would be in Leeds. But if that's a bit far, if that's not okay for traveling, we also have the option for this to be done at home. So we'll work around that as well. And the consultation with the doctor would be done via video call. So we would be able to support in that way. And then how to book an appointment, I would say, well, technically speaking, we just need to set you up on the system to find the appointments for you. But my recommendation there would just be to book in a free call with me through the link so that I can run over your history, answer any other questions that you may have about us, about costs, about your fertility journey, and then I'll set you up on the system and I'll get you booked in.
Amazing. Thank you, Bella. And I think it's actually a really common answer because we have such a wide network of partner clinics and all over the UK. Quite often people say, "Oh, I live in," and they come up with a town that, I mean, I may not have ever heard of, but actually, we do have clinics nearby. So it's often really convenient. So that's definitely something that the team can help with if you were to book in a call. A couple of other questions we had was how much does apricity fertility treatment cost? And it's a great question because we actually haven't gone through the specific apricity costs on this call. And that was pretty intentional. We wanted to keep it more, how can we help you just navigate the fertility industry in general? But actually what we will also do after this call is we'll send the apricity price list out in the email as well, so you can see that. And we do have on there what is included and what's not included. But as I say, the team will be happy to go over that in more detail with you. We're really competitive on prices. We pride ourselves on our competitive prices. But as I say, and when we showed that graph earlier, there are other clinics out there that you might see that they are charging £4,000, whereas actually that's not the reality when it comes to the point of actual treatment. So just bear in mind ours are all-inclusive pricing from the beginning so that you know what that cost is going to be from the outset.
Yeah.
So the final question that we have here is if I've started my treatment on a finance plan and I want to change my treatment halfway through, can this be done? So Bella, do you want to answer this?
Yes. And the answer to this question is yes, you can. Especially if not only sometimes it's not even a patient's choice to change the treatment. It could be a doctor's recommendation based on what is best for you. In that situation, um, you would just need to speak with us at the team. If you're already going through the treatment, and you're already part of one of our patients, just have a chat with us. We'll let you know. Financially speaking, most likely there will be just the whole of either be paying for the difference or getting a partial refund depending on where at what point of the treatment that you were. But yes, we would work with you and offer the treatment that you're comfortable going with, that you're being recommended by the doctor, and all of that. So yes, if necessary, it is possible to do. There's just the administration side and the financial side of things, but we can let you know based on personal circumstances as well. Just let us know. Just get in touch and we'll let you know.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Bella. And it's we're at time now, so we will close the call. But I just want to say thank you so much to everyone that's joined today. It's a really, really important topic, and just know that our team are here to speak to you if you have any questions. If you're not comfortable on a call, then feel free to email us as well. And yeah, it's been great hosting tonight, and thank you so much, Bella, for being a fantastic panelist. And yeah, we will email you shortly with the follow-ups that we have promised. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a
Thank you
lovely
very
evening.
much. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye.